I think we got everybody in here, Susan, and I'm going to turn it over to you to get us started.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Susan Delahousse. I'm the career advisor at SOPA at Tulane University. And we are so happy to have you all here with us this evening. We're excited to have some alumni with us. And I'm going to drop my LinkedIn in the chat if any of you all want to connect with me this evening. So welcome to the Tulane Tech Talk on how to break into the cyber technology industry. This event is brought to you by Tulane University School of Professional Advancement, and it will feature recent Tulane graduates who have successfully launched their careers. So during this event, you'll have the opportunity to learn from their experiences, and they'll share tips on how to get started in a cyber technology career, any skills that are in high demand right now, the value of a degree in this field, and the technical certifications that can help you stand out from the competition. This discussion will be facilitated by Dr. Bill Rials. He is a professor at Tulane University for Information Technology Programs. And our panelists include Isabella Casas. She's a data analyst at Beyond Trust. Miguel Solis, he's a cybersecurity engineer at ICF International. And Ignatius Liberto, he's the director of cybersecurity compliance and oversight at the U.S. Department of Energy. So you all will be able to ask questions through our Q&A feature. And so we thank you for joining us for this informative discussion. I'll open it up for Bill.
All right. Thank you, Susan. And just like Susan said, I just want to welcome everyone to this event, this exciting discussion on technology and cybersecurity. Like Susan mentioned, my name is Dr. Bill Rials. I'm thrilled to be here today to serve as your host for this session. And this session is about one of the most rapidly growing fields in the 21st century, cybersecurity and technology. And as Susan mentioned, I just want to reiterate that this webcast is designed to be interactive. So yes, I'm going to be talking to our panelists, to our expert speakers, and grilling them, asking them questions and learn about what they've been up to since they've graduated. But also you can interact with us as well by asking questions at any time during the presentation. You should see the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. There's also a chat box. You can use either one. You can submit a question by chat, or you can use a Q&A, and we'll try to address as many of your questions as we can throughout our time together this evening. But we do have some time allocated towards the end of the webcast just for your questions, but don't wait to the end. You can go ahead and submit them now. So before we get into the event today and I get into interviewing our expert panel with the questions that I have prepared for them, I want to ask you some general questions. Are you interested in a career in cybersecurity? Are you interested in promoting, getting a higher job or some type of promotion level in the cybersecurity and technology field? Do you know what it takes to succeed in this field? Do you want to know what type of training and tools you need to be successful in this field? If you answered yes to any of those, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to talk about some of the most important aspects of the cyber technology industry, including tips on how to get started, the skills that are needed, the value of a college degree versus a technical certification, and most importantly, how to land the best jobs. As everyone knows, that technology is an integral part of our lives, and the importance of technology continues to grow every day. And with this increasing reliance on technology, it becomes ever increasing for cybersecurity professionals that can help this overall digital world that we're living in, make it more secure and safe. Cybersecurity is one of the most rapidly growing fields that offers really endless levels of opportunities for anyone who's passionate. And I know my panel today are very passionate about technology and they have the skills to match. So during this discussion today, we're going to cover all kind of things. We talked about it before. I'm excited to get started. But before we do, I want to thank Tulane University School of Professional Advancement for making this event possible. Without the support, we couldn't have these type of talks, not only with our students, with our alumni, but also to the greater community at large. So I'm excited to be here today to talk with our expert panel here and with some of our alumni to learn about what they've been doing in their careers. And I know it's going to inspire me talking to them. I know it's going to inspire you as well and help you as you succeed, as you look forward to how to get involved with cybersecurity. One of my favorite parts about being a university professor is getting to talk to students, getting to talk to not only students in the class that I'm currently teaching now, but especially students who graduate and move on and go off in their lives. And it's exciting to me. I love it when I get an email or a call years after someone's graduated and say something along the lines of, "Hey, Dr. Rials, that thing we did in class, remember that thing? I hated it, but you know what? It helped me today. It helped me do this thing. It helped me get this new job. It helped me get a promotion, or maybe just help with a project or problem I have at work." That's awesome. That's inspiring. And I know we're going to hear about some of that kind of work. And, as a university professor, I've had the privilege and honor to not only teach, but to help guide and mentor hundreds of students towards achieving their academic and professional goals. The expert speakers we have on this call with us today are just some examples of some of my favorite students who actually listen in class, not only to get their well-deserved A, but also to take the lessons learned in the classroom and apply them to the real world. And as I mentioned, one of my favorite things is talk to the students. So I'm enjoying this. This is exciting for me. And I definitely want to thank my expert speakers, Miguel, Isabella, and Ignatius for spending time with me this afternoon and to sit down and have this informal chat. I know I'm gonna get the benefit. I know everyone else is. So with that, let's jump into this and get started. I do want to mention that Miguel graduated Tulane University with his undergrad degree in 2021, and now he's a cybersecurity engineer at ICF International. Isabella graduated with her undergrad in 2021, but went on. She did an accelerated master's degree and graduated with a graduate degree from Tulane University in cybersecurity in 2022, and now she's a data analyst at Beyond Trust. And Colonel Ignatius Liberto got his undergrad from Tulane University when, drum roll, 1984. And then, lifelong learner, and hit it again, came back, completed his graduate degree, his master's degree from Tulane University Information Technology Programs in 2021. And now he's currently the Director of Cybersecurity Compliance and Oversight for the United States Department of Energy. So we have a wide range here for our three panelists. I'm excited to get to talk to everybody. So I'm going to start off, Miguel, I'm going to start off with you. Everybody's interested in what's going on today. Let's tell me and tell our audience here what the day in the life of Miguel at ICF International, and what goes on in the career that you're doing right now, and what's your job like?
Thank you, Bill. To get started, well, thank you again for having me here. So excited hearing you with that introduction. Spot on. And to get to your question, it's pretty broad, right? But a day in the life of my, from my eyes, it can be different every day, right? But it's going to involve doing a lot of different security specific tasks, such as documentation, talking with a lot of different teams on application components, testing those application components and APIs, getting more into the weeds of the business processes that enable certain functions to happen. So that's going to be a lot of the things that I get to do as a cybersecurity engineer at ICF, and it's super exciting. I think that every day I've been there, I've learned something new, and I think I see Ignatius nodding, but that's kind of how it is in this field. Sometimes you learn new things every day because new technologies come every day, and so I'm really excited to be part of an organization, and also as an engineer where I can make those strides and continue learning, which is one of the greatest things that I get to do in my current role.
So tell us a little bit about ICF International for anyone on our call that may not be familiar with that organization.
Yeah, of course. So ICF is a company that does a lot of contracting with different organizations, both private and in the public sector. For the project that I am on, I'm doing specific for the Centers of Medicaid services. So I'm doing specifically the quality payment program, which is a program that is designed for doctors to get compensated after they provide quality care. And so that's kind of the thing that I'm doing as a cybersecurity engineer. And and of course, ICF has so many more things. They have things that go into the energy sector. They, Medicaid and medical areas, right, as well as the environment, right? So yeah, that's kind of a big overview of what ICF is and does.
Outstanding. We're going to circle back around. I got a lot of more questions for everyone. So Isabella, I'm going to come to you next. So same question I asked Miguel. Are you working Beyond Trust? So tell us a little bit about, well, who is Beyond Trust? What do they do? And what do you do for Beyond Trust nowadays?
Yeah, so Beyond Trust is a privileged access management company. We develop software specifically for privileged access management. And so what I do as a data analyst, I don't work, I guess, directly on security related tasks like I suppose Miguel and Ignatius do. But what I do is essentially gather and analyze data that can then support other areas of the business. So I've actually only been in this role specifically for about 5 months, I want to say, and I am the first within my department to have this role. So we're kind of still figuring, I guess, the day-to-day out as we go, or I'm sure it's going to develop more in the future. So right now, how my day goes typically depends on the day of the week, and it depends on where we are in the month and also in the quarter. So varies a lot, right? So I have a lot of reports that either need to go out monthly or quarterly, and I basically structure all of my time around those things. So if I have a quarterly report, like now it'll be due at the end of Q2, I'll probably start gathering that data in like a month or so. Same with the monthly reports. I gather that data like a couple of weeks before that's due. So I typically will either spend my days talking to people, emailing or chatting, saying like, hey, I need this information from you or your team, or like, do you know where I can go find this? Once I've gathered the information that I need, then I go to whatever tool I'm using. It depends. It could either be Excel or Power BI, or just, the data has to go somewhere, right? So I'll send that data somewhere, clean it up, and then I'll start actually analyzing it. So I'll generally create a bunch of different charts or tables that display the useful information, right? Because nobody ever wants to see the raw data itself. And then once I have the information in its most useful form, it goes into some sort of a presentation or a dashboard of some sort, and then I send that off to whoever needs it and basically repeat that cycle. But again, Dave really varies. And I am the only one.
Real briefly, you said you did that role for 5 months and you've been there a little bit longer. What have you done previous to that? What type of things that you started your career off after graduation?
Yeah, so I've been at the same company since I graduated. I've been at Beyond Trust now for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in June. And when I got hired, I was hired as a product operations analyst. So I feel like a lot of people haven't really heard of that role before. I hadn't at the time. It is kind of a new field. So what I did as a product ops analyst was basically worked with certain stakeholders, like, a lot of engineers, sometimes legal, PMs, people like that. And I basically just helped ensure that our releases went out to market as fluidly as possible. So we would sit down and make a launch plan together, say these are the deliverables we need to meet until we get to release a new update, a new version of our product. We have several products, and I only worked on about half of them, and I had a partner who worked on the other half of them. So yeah, it was a lot of meetings, talking to people, and like kind of a lot of putting out fires, like a lot more than I do currently as a data analyst, because there's friction. There's definitely friction between engineering and probably everyone else. So yeah, doing that sort of stuff. And then on the other hand, besides like all the release management things, we would also actually work on reporting that was more related to like the products that we were working on. So like just very, very basic reports, like, what releases did we have this quarter? Were they like how many features were in there? How many like maintenance items? Did we have any like bugs to squash? Things like that. So a little bit of everything, I guess.
Outstanding. I think it's interesting that you highlighted some of the skills that you probably wasn't expecting that were needed in your new job role, like, putting out fires and talking to so many people. You don't really cover that in XYZ cyber class, but that is a needed skill. So that's a good segue to turn to you, Ignatius. You know, we've talked to Miguel and Isabella. They're kind of in their embassy levels of their career. You can tell they're set for great things. Well, you've already accomplished great things and doing great things now. Tell us about, you know, where you are now and what goes on, you know, someone at your level at the pinnacle of their career.
All right, thank you, Bill. First of all, for everybody, Dr. Rials was one of my professors when I got my master's, and yes, I was the student that said, "You're killing me," and for that, I say thank you very much. Isabella, I'm impressed. I have a team of about 15 federal employees and contractors that do everything you said that you do by yourself. So good on you. So I started in the world of cyber, thinking that cyber was spelled with an S. When I was at United States Cyber Command, working with the National Security Agency as a chief of staff for our premier defensive cyberspace operations joint task force, where we were literally doing war fighting 24/7 against nation states and other advanced persistent threats. That burnt me out after 3 years. And then I took a chance. I reached for a job that I, in my heart, didn't think I was qualified for, and I got the job. So now I'm at Department of Energy. It is absolutely super cool working in the Office of the Chief Information Security Officer. We're broken into 2 divisions. One side does that incredibly boring, heinous, I don't want anything to do with it, cybersecurity operations and incident response. I do all the other things, and my portfolio is absolutely a bag of crazy, but I literally learn something new every day. So from a governance perspective, I oversee everything that deals with FISMA reporting regulations, all the acts of Congress such as FISMA, FATARA, and the FedRAMP Authorization Act. I work hand in hand across the entire enterprise, which is 57 enclaves and more than 100,000 users, doing the enterprise-wide cybersecurity risk management. I also help oversee our cybersecurity and awareness training program that does everything from our Women in Cyber events during the month of March to our Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is a major capstone event for us in October. I oversee our 2 premier cybersecurity and incident response handling events called Cyber Fire. One is virtual and one is live. We just came back from Louisville in December, and then we're heading on off to Denver for our next event. Additionally, I get involved in the authorization and assessment process. This is how we get new systems, whether they be on-prem or cloud-based systems, and we run them through our process to get an enterprise authorization to operate. And so doesn't matter what the system is. It supports usually a department element or program office's core business function, whether it be a national laboratory, the Office of the Inspector General, the Chief Financial Officer, the Loan Program Office, the Indian Affairs, renewable energy, does not matter. When they need a system to help them do their core business function, they come to us to get the enterprise ATO, and I'm actually the authorizing official designated representative, and we run the entire process through, and then I hand the package over to the authorizing official, who's the only one in the department that assumes the risk that the system's going to bring into our enterprise network. And lastly, we also oversee the continuous monitoring of all these systems. And I've got a world-class information system security manager, and she oversees a large team of ISOs, information security system officers, to ensure that all the system security plans, all the system impact analysis are done. So that's everything organic to me, but I can't do anything without my teammates that work in the enterprise information technology system, teammates that work in privacy, teammates that work in the GRC, which is Governance, Risk, and Compliance Office, as well as our entire admin team that really provides a lot of world-class support for us. And then lastly, there's so many other things that impact my job as a federal employee. Anytime the president signs an executive order, for example, in the summer of 2021, he signed Executive Order 14028, which really drove home several things: multi-factor authentication, encryption at rest, getting after the IoT, the Internet of Things, on our operational technology, which a lot of the energy sector rides on, getting at the industrial control systems and the SCADA systems that are out there. And that's not an easy lift, because we get these directions and we get these laws, these acts of Congress, but very rarely does resourcing come with it. So we find ourselves quite often very busy. And as like Isabel talked about, doing briefings and such, my entire life is on a quarterly cycle, doing FISMA reporting, risk register reporting, and everything else from a training and awareness perspective in our enterprise cybersecurity risk management program. So I'm often in front of the CIO or in front of the deputy secretary, briefing basically the risk posture of the enterprise network for the Department of Energy.
I just got one word to say. Wow. Thank you for protecting our country, and I'm glad it's you doing it. So very, very impressive resume and skill set you there. I'm glad to see that Tulane have played a small part in your skill set of what you're doing now. Isabella and Miguel, Ignatius kind of highlighted this a little bit. He told the story of what got him excited about being in the career of cyber and technology. So just real briefly, Isabella, what got you like, what I'm going to college, I need to major in something. What made you choose IT and cyber? What kind of got you in that mindset?
So I'll do the, short version. A little embarrassing. So when I was younger, I was really into video games. And so for pretty much up elementary to high school, I thought, I want to be involved in video games somehow. So I was like, I'm not good at art, not good at writing. What could I do? Coding probably. So I took some computer science classes in high school. But then I started looking a little bit more into the gaming industry in general, and I just didn't like the sound of it. It sounded very like volatile and toxic. And I was like, well, maybe I want something with a little bit more job security. And at that time, I happened to be watching a show called Mr. Robot, which focuses on a cybersecurity engineer. And I was like, oh, security, that's interesting. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So like from there, it just came into my life at like the right time. And I was like, that's an industry I've never looked into before. So I started looking into it more. And I was like, this seems like what I would want to do. And so, yeah, the second I got to college, I, looked into what programs Tulane had to offer. And y'all had the IT program with the concentration in cybersecurity. And I was like, that's perfect. So I did that. And I also double majored in computer science through Newcomb Tulane.
Outstanding. So Miguel, same question. What got you wanting to do this geeky stuff?
That's awesome, Isabella. So similar to Isabella, yeah, I was also very interested in games and, from the get-go, but a little different from your experience was that I didn't like the coding part. I just liked messing with it. I like to see how I can break something, and full disclaimer, there were games that I was like, how can I hack it and get like ultimate lives or whatever, right? You name it. So that was just an interest of mine, in computers. I was always very curious about how they worked. So when I actually got to college, I wasn't going for any technology related degree. I was actually going for a biomedical degree and a biomedical engineering degree. So I was very good in math. I was very good in those analytics type of fields, but something wasn't right. I just didn't feel like it was fulfilling some of that need that I had for, doing something with computers or, something specific to how things work, especially in the time that I was studying my bachelor's. A lot of things were happening in the technology space, right? So it came to a point where, I also, just stumbled across the program that had the concentration in cybersecurity. It was out of luck, I believe so. I was already working in an IT related job doing, different things for a library here at Tulane University. I was doing a lot of troubleshooting and doing a lot of support to students, staff, faculty, all different kinds, right? So that kind of drove me into, okay, technology is something I really enjoy. I really like the fact that you get that satisfaction when you help somebody and, they're like, oh my God, you're so smart. How did you fix my computer's Wi-Fi? And you're in the back of your mind, you're just like, I just have to install a driver. But to them, it's like, another language. So I'm understanding and seeing those, those nice interactions with people. Then translated into the cybersecurity space once I found once I was, looking for an actual concentration to study.
So Ignatius, I'm gonna go back to you. You said something briefly earlier that I was one of your professors that really ran you hard, and but now you're thankful for it. So you must have learned something, during your course of study that helped you in the career you're in now. So the generic question is, what skills do you consider most in demand for the cyber technology? How can someone develop those skills? What's needed, and what's some of the best ways to get those in demand skills? And Miguel, Isabella, be prepared. You're coming up next. What you think the most in demand skills are?
All right, I'll tell you what the most in-demand skill is. It's very simple. I could say it in one word. Okay, maybe not one word. Being a good teammate. Quite honestly, that's where it starts, Bill. Cybersecurity is a team sport. The minute you think you know everything and you don't need anybody's assistance, your entire organization is going to have a colossal failure. I bring, quite honestly, some leadership, some organizational skills, the ability to take what the nerds and the nerdery say to me when we have a problem, translate it into plain English and go talk to senior executives and explain it to them as impact and risk to their core business functions. Here's what you can and can't do based on impacts and problems on the network and within our systems. So you have to be a good teammate. Secondly, think about this for a second. It takes 5 years for industry to recognize a certification, whether it's a CISM through ISACA or the CISSP through ISC squared. 5 years. So don't think just because you have 2 years, you're ready to set the world on fire. No offense to my two teammates here today. But if ISACA says you need 5 years and ISACA and others say you need 5 years, then maybe there's a reason behind that. Because the best way to learn about cyber is getting your hands dirty. I tell you, the first test I ever failed in my entire life was when I was almost 60 years old and I failed the CISSP exam. It really humbled me. But I also realized that I don't need to know the CISSP because I'm not the guy touching routers and switches and networks. What I am is I'm leading. So I realized that the certification as an information security manager was more in my swim lane. So I reapplied myself and I passed that certification. And that really was a highlight in my career because I felt like that's where I needed to be. So I went after a certification that was relevant. So that's what I would say. You got to push yourself. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You have to push yourself because this is evolving. 5G, Internet of Things. What's happening with artificial intelligence is both exciting and scary. So you got to push yourself, but you have to stay within your comfort zone. Master what you're doing right now, and then reach for the next thing. But phase yourself. Have a plan to develop yourself over time. If you try to do everything at once, that's probably not going to be healthy for you nor your teammates. But understand that when you have, whether you're doing compliance, oversight, or operations, it does not matter. You get everybody in the room. Somebody needs to be leader, and everybody else are subject matter experts or folks that come together. Ironically, I gave a presentation today for the Department of Energy talking about the roles of as an authorizing official, designated representative. And I talked about the teamwork between the chief information officer, the chief information security officer, the system owner, the ISM, the ISO, the security control assessment team, and everything else that's out there, the privacy officer, the governance officer. It's a total team sport. So it starts with being a good teammate. It starts with understanding where you are and then aspiring and challenging yourself to go to the next level. And then at some point, you really have to say, okay, I want to become a leader. And that's what I liked about the Tulane program, is it focused both on getting me some technical acumen, which I really needed, but it also helped refine some of my leadership and management skills, which after 32 years in the Marine Corps, I like to think I had a little bit of it.
Absolutely. Great advice, especially I want to hone in on the teamwork. There's some current students on this call right now, and you talk to your professors. We do teamwork exercises and teamwork assignments. Well, I got to do that, professor. I really want to do it individually. That's why you heard the man right there. They're needed out in the workforce. So real quick, Miguel, what do you think some of the top skills that are needed out there today to be successful?
Yeah, actually, I found that Ignatius, the way you explained it, it was, it's so thought-provoking. So I wanted to interject and just say that I totally agree, the teamwork portion. And then I was listening to what you were saying, but when you were saying teamwork, you were like also saying so many other things that that a cybersecurity professional should have. You talked about leadership, you talked about understanding different things such as, your role, you're focused about the translation of the business functions, the risk, right? You're talking about all of those different things as well. And I think you also mentioned something about the breadth, right? And when you over focus on everything and you want to be the best at everything, you end up being like what's the saying, a jack of all trades, master of none, right? So that's a great advice from me too, that I had to, put into my life to understand I can't know it all. It's okay to ask questions and rely on other people that have a better, more senior expertise than maybe I have, but maybe I bring something to the table, and be willing to share that. It's another skill that is super important. And at the end of the day, I agree with the team sport. Because if, you know, if you're the only person as well that wants to do everything and wants to take on everything, you're also a single point of failure, right? So if you get sick, then, you know, the whole industry, you know, the whole department could be, you know, could be impacted, right? So you do rely on a lot of people and understanding those things. But I, you know, if I want to just focus on one of the things for somebody just starting off is to not over focus and try to, you know, split yourself short, is try to, you know, digest things as they get to you. And life has this funny way of throwing you things at the right time, just like Isabella said. Just when you need them, they're just there, and you just have to be able to take them in and actually do some action items from that, right? So this meeting could be this, you know, this webinar could be one of those aha moments where you can kind of say, oh wow, I learned something new and I can apply it to my career that can help me grow. So I think that would be one of my biggest advice.
So Isabella, I'm gonna ask you the same question, but with a little bit different spin. Was there any skills that you expected was high priority, you got into the workforce and like, oh no, this instead of that?
Yeah, I think what I was expecting as a student was to, I guess, have more technical knowledge than I think what was really expected of me, especially as like an entry level worker. So I kind of went through college thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to get like all of these like certifications and stuff like before I graduate, because like otherwise who's gonna want me, right? Things like that. Or like I'm gonna have to know how to like code something super complex in order to get a job. And like really in my experience, not to like keep harping on soft skills, but in my experience, I do think that like genuinely just being like adaptable and willing to learn new things, and also like having a, you know, genuine like passion and interest in like whatever it is you're applying for, can really take you a long way. Because I mean I've learned that, you know, certifications and even like degrees in some cases, that can all be earned like down the line. But if you're you know, coming into the workforce, and like you definitely need to have some basic technical knowledge. I will say that like it that also takes you a long way. You don't have to know everything, not all at once. And I think as long as your employer can see that, like, you know, this is someone who I can basically mold, like I can teach them exactly what I need them to know, that can get you pretty far. So that's what I would say is like the top, probably one of the top skills, is just, you know, having someone who is willing to work, is willing to be adaptable.
You said technically you don't have to know everything. I've been in this field for 25 plus years and I'm a lifelong learner. And I guarantee you can put everything I know about technology in a little bitty book. So if anyone says, I know it all, they're lying.
Yeah.
They don't know anything. So I'm going to address the elephant in the room. This webinar is brought to you by Tulane University, which obviously awards college degrees. And there's a lot more jobs out there than they are applicants in the cyber and technology field. So the elephant in the room, I'm going to ask everybody, you know, in this day and age, is a college degree valuable? Now, you all have recently graduated and you've applied yourself in the workforce, and you've seen other people come and go, and you obviously set yourself up as a good candidate. So this is a tough question, but I want to be honest here. You know, how important is a college degree in today's world of technology? So Miguel, I'm going to start off with you.
Yeah, thank you. So a college degree in this day and age, like Isabella said, you know, they're important, but they can also be, you know, just like certifications. A college degree, you can get it down the line, right? Depending on the things that you want to specialize. But you know, looking at, you know, my progression in my career, I think that it definitely helped me when it comes to how my career has turned out so far. And at the same time, you know, it's not to say that it guarantees you a role, you know, in this such industry, but it definitely gets you started with that foundational knowledge. It gets you thinking in frameworks, and which is important, right? When you need to talk to somebody else that's been doing it for a long time, and you need to, you're landing that interview, you need to be able to have that basic dictionary understanding of, you know, what's happening, right? So I think they're very important, and they can be useful. And there's a lot of things that can come out from a degree as well. Like the peers that you get to bond with and you get to have class with. I think if I would have done it again, I would have loved to been more engaged with such a community, right? Because there's so many things that I've learned later after graduation that I would have enjoyed a lot with other people, such as CTFs or doing other portfolio projects with other people that can get you some of that hands-on experience, and then you have it all right there in the degree. So it's definitely very useful.
Just so everyone be on the same page, Miguel mentioned CTFs. That's captured the flag events. And we have a cyber competition team that any student can be involved in, and it's completely free and it's fun. You network, period. You can compete against others. So Isabella, same quick question to you. I can go out, watch YouTube and get information on how to install Kali Linux and go hack things, or whatever skill I'm trying to get. You mentioned, you don't have to know everything technology wise, but typically what technology I need to know how to do something is at my fingertips. I can ask ChatGPT to tell me, right? So knowing that, how important is a college degree, in your opinion, of getting a job and getting promoted and transitioning? You've transitioned through multiple jobs in the same company. What is a degree, does it impact in today's world?
So I definitely don't think that like having a degree in all cases is absolutely necessary. I mean, I've seen people be very successful without ever getting a degree. They're just really good at learning by themselves, I guess. And I've also seen people in the technology industry be successful within technology without having a technology related degree, right? But personally, I think having a degree, kind of going off of what Miguel said, it really, really does give you a leg up. It does not guarantee a job, but for me, it really, really helps like establish like some sort of a baseline that I could then use, going forward to apply to more jobs. And I'm not a really great self-learner, so I don't think I could have gotten to where I was today without like having the college structure, like someone explaining these things to me and having assignments. That was another really big benefit that I saw with the college degree, was that like the assignments, like the work that I was doing for my degree, I used that in interviews later on down the line, like as examples of like, okay, well, I've applied this knowledge here and like I can show you what I've done and like things like that. Whereas had I not gone to college, that would have had to just be like a passion project, which like, not everyone has the time or self-discipline to like do that kind of stuff. And like passion projects are great. Again, especially if you don't have a degree, but not for everybody, right? So yeah, I'd say that like, again, not necessary, but it's very, very helpful in my experience.
So Colonel Roberto, you're on the other scale of progressing through your career, but also you're in the business of hiring, people as well that work for you. That's a good question to ask you. How important is a college degree?
All right, so you bring up a good point, Bill. All right, so let's think about the CIA triad, right? Which is the foundation of all cybersecurity: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now let's take the CIA triad and call it the cybersecurity professional triad. All right. And within that triad, what I look for in my workforce is the triad of an education. Does it have to be in cybersecurity? No, but I think there's a certain amount, especially at certain levels that I'm hiring people like program managers. What I love about a college degree, it means you understand timelines, deadlines, program management. Believe it or not, anytime you did a group project, if you were the leader, you were a program manager. So I look for a college degree in any discipline because I personally feel that means you understand the basics of program management. Then the second thing I look for are certifications. I don't really care if it's Security Plus or it's something super Gucci like the Capstone CISSP. I look for a certification because that tells me that you are interested in developing yourself from a technical side, so you have a genuine understanding of what the IT architecture looks like and how we need to bake in cybersecurity front, middle, and back end. And the last thing I look for of that triad for education, master's is great and undergrad is preferred. And the certifications and the base of that triangle is clearly experience. How long have you been in the field? And to be honest, I'm usually looking for my federal employees around 5 years of service if they're coming in at a GS 12 or higher in the federal government, because quite honestly, you can't be a certified CSSP without the 5 years experience. Not my rules, that's the industry standard. So I look for the 5 years experience, I look for people that have an education. And if they don't, then I look for jobs that focused on program management. But at my level, where we're working in the office of the Chief Information Security Officer, everybody needs at least some type of certification to show that you're committed to understanding the technology, whether it be cloud-based technology, security technology, or even the information or operational technology. So that's what I'm looking for. Now, there are entry-level positions that goes out to my contract workforce, and I articulate those requirements through our performance work statement, the contracts that are signed through our acquisition team. And then we also come up with quality standards, because you know what? It doesn't matter how experienced and smart you are. If you don't meet my quality standards, we have a real big problem there. So I manage and both monitor my federal workforce, as well as the hundreds of cybersecurity professionals that we contract out in support of our DOE mission.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned certifications, because we've got several comments from our audience members talking about, what about certifications? Yeah, we talk about college degrees, all that kind of good stuff. There's a plethora, and you mentioned that. I want to get Isabella and Miguel's take on certifications. Are certifications important, or do you have any recommendations, Miguel, on what certifications? I mean, I know Ignatius mentioned a couple, but what's your insight? What have you seen?
Yeah, I agree with Ignatius. I think that certifications let other people. It's somebody explained to me it's an HR, and also, it's kind of like lets you know where are you in the in your career, right? And what kind of foundational knowledge you have. It doesn't translate to the skills. So I think that they're important. If you can get them as well, like Ignatius already said, there's multiple employers that are going to require those, even to consider you for some of these roles. So having those, it takes time out of your day, but if you can plan it out, I think it's definitely going to be worth your time. So, some include for entry-level positions, the Security Plus or CH, they're good ones if you have already some foundation of the infrastructure of IT as a whole, right? If you don't have that knowledge, a person that maybe is transitioning from another role, maybe getting some sort of education on that realm first, and then transitioning into the Security Plus, via like the A plus or Network Plus. Those are all important as well, because security touches everything, and you have to understand the little portions of it to be able to recommend remediations, recommend controls, or how to do these certain things. So I think those are some of the few ones. There's a few others that are new, such as the ISC Square certified in cybersecurity, which is the one I actually got when I was studying and looking out for which certification to take. But there's many more, right? And I'll let Isabella as well give her take on that.
Yeah, real briefly, Isabella, what's your take on certifications?
Well, I guess kind of going off what Miguel said, I think that they're really, I guess at the core, it's a great way to prove that you have knowledge in a specific area, not necessarily just for security, but again, for like IT, networking, things like that. And also kind of coming off of what Miguel and Ignatius have said, like, yeah, it can be required for some positions. So like if there's one position that you like really, really want, definitely focus on getting that certification. Because it doesn't, I think ultimately it doesn't hurt you. Like they can be costly, so that is kind of a pain. But like, I mean, I don't personally think that like, gaining more knowledge, even if you ultimately don't end up using that certification, like why would it hurt you, right? To like have the knowledge on hand. Because it can also be applied to like other things, right? And I think it's also good, maybe not alternative, well, perhaps an alternative, perhaps a stepping stone for someone who perhaps doesn't have time or money for like a full degree yet. At the very least, you could always like try out one of those basic certifications that Miguel mentioned, like A plus or Network Plus, and see where that takes you. And if you're interested in doing more, step it up, get another certification, or transfer to a degree. But yeah, ultimately, I think certifications, they're pretty important, I think, for probably every position. So like, I'm not even really, I'm not as security focused as Miguel or Ignatius, but even I have like a basic project plus degree, certification, right? because I was doing some project management-esque stuff as a prod ops analyst. So that was very helpful to me and to that role. And now I have it for, to apply for other things later on.
Let me just add just a little bit of commentary from Tulane's perspective. It used to be you would go off and get your college degree, and then you would go off and get the technical training on site or certifications or some type of technical school. I get asked all the time, our faculty gets asked all the time, should I get a college degree or a technical cert? And our answer is, well, both. Get them both. And our program is designed that way. You can get your college degree classes, get credit for them to work towards your college degree and credits, but also earn these certs that everybody's talking about. Security Plus and Network Plus and Cloud Plus, Certified Ethical Hacker, all that kind of stuff can be counted as part of your degree. So our approach in the Information Technology Program at Tulane SOPA is get both. You should graduate with these certifications and your degree. So look, we could talk about this all day. This has been a great conversation, but unfortunately we're coming up on our allocated time, and I want to be respectful. But I do want to ask the audience, our panelists, go around one more time. What is the question that I forgot to ask you? And leave us some final thoughts. And as you do, while the other panelists are talking, please drop your contact information, if you don't mind, into the chat so anyone in our audience can reach out to you if needed. So Ignatius, I'm gonna start with you. What did I leave out? Leave us with some final thoughts.
All right, thank you, Bill. You really didn't leave anything out. What I'll say is, from the federal government perspective, my entire Tulane master's degree was paid for by the federal government through the Department of Defense. All my certifications have been paid for by the Department of Energy. So if you're thinking about the private sector, that's awesome, because there's a lot of money to be made. But there's a new program now for cybersecurity and IT professionals in the federal government that actually comes with an increase in pay. It's called the SSR, the special salary rate. So all of my cybersecurity professionals will be getting a huge pay raise coming up next month when the SSR kicks in. We're doing that to be able to retain cybersecurity professionals within the federal government. Additionally, things like SANS training, the certifications that Isabella said are very expensive. Guess what? We pay for it in the federal government. So if you ever thought about, hey, maybe I should, maybe I'll let Deloitte or Ernst & Young wait a couple of years while I go cut my teeth and get a top secret security clearance through the federal government. There's all kind of opportunity in the federal government. The pay rate is now finally consummate with what people are making out in the private sector. And I don't think there's ever been a better time to join the United States government, whether it be Department of Defense, Homeland Security, the U.S. military, Department of Energy, whatever. Now is the time. The salary is there, the education is there, the certifications, doesn't matter if it's ISACA, SANS, ICS squared, we pay for all that, plus the boot camps associated with the exams. So it's an exciting program out there, and I certainly recommend it.
All right, real briefly, Isabella, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, I do want to say, Ignatius, I actually went into my cybersecurity degree thinking like I was going to end up working for the federal government. I was very, very hype and excited about that. So I would also say like, yeah, go government. But I love my job in the private sector, right? I love my company. And usually what I tell students is to generally just be open-minded about, what you're applying for, and like even like what job you end up like wanting to do. Because as a student, I was pretty hyper-focused. I thought I could, do like one or two things. I was like, either I'm going to be like a software engineer, or I'm going to be like a security analyst somewhere. And that was pretty much all I was really looking at, like during my job hunt. And how I'd passed by so many different roles that like I thought, I was like, that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm learning, and like I don't have the skills for that, and thoughts like that. But Professor Rials actually encouraged me to apply for this prod ops analyst position. And even though I was like, well, I don't know what prod ops is, and I don't know if I would be good at it, I looked more into it. I spoke to the hiring manager, and after doing more research about it, I was like, okay, this actually does sound like something I would be good at, and that I would enjoy. And so, I was excited to apply. And then when they offered me the job, I was really excited to accept it and like, get to know more about what it was all about. But again, it's not somewhere that like I ever thought I'd be. I also never thought I'd be a data analyst, but I ended up here as well. And I've really been enjoying, both of these things. So yeah, final thought, really just go into things open-minded, like apply for things that you even if you think like, you might not be qualified for it, like you could surprise yourself. You could end up being really good at it and you could end up loving where you're at.
I think that's one of Susan's advice he always gives. Look at the job description. If you can meet half of those things, go ahead and put your name in the hat and let's see. All right, I apologize, Miguel. We had time, but give us a real brief final thoughts from you.
Yeah, for sure. If I could just think about one thing to leave the audience that we haven't already discussed is the importance of networking with other people in this industry. I know we didn't really get to touch on that point, but I want to, recommend and inspire, every one of the participants here, attendees, to reach out to other people that are earlier in their careers or later in their careers where they can give you some of these nuggets of information that can help you make that next step, right? Or can even provide you some guidance on what they think retrospectively. If they were in your position, if I was in your position, this is what I would do, to help you get to the next step. So network with people, reach out to people on LinkedIn. Not everybody will respond, but you get your chances high up there if you can get in the habit of doing that. So keep joining events such as these. I'm on the day-to-day, similar to Ignatius, I get to continue my learning, and that's something that our company really has that emphasis, is to continue learning because things are changing. So being able to participate in industry webinars where we're learning about different attacks, what's going on in the industry is super, super important. So I recommend our attendees to do that.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for your time. I've greatly enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, we could have been talking about this for hours, but I want to be respectful of our time commitment. I do want to bring up, I heard a theme throughout the entire conversation was soft skills or skills beyond the technical. You can learn a technical. Yeah, you can learn a technical in the certification path. You can learn technical skills in your college classes as well, but there are all these other skills that you learn. And what we do in the information technology program, we host frequent, professional development events for things you can learn outside of the classroom. And we got one coming up pretty soon. When we close out, I'll let Susan tell you about that because she's hosting that. And if you're a Tulane student in the IT program, you've already got an email about it. Try to come to that lunch and learn. Bring your sack lunch over Zoom, eat your lunch, listen to the webinar. It's going to be great. If you're not a Tulane student on this call, send me an email and I'll get you access to it. It'd be a lot of fun. You can do that. Also, there's some comments from our audience members about a recording of this event. Yes, it is being recorded, and a link will be emailed out to everyone who registered. It'll also be on YouTube as well. So Susan, I'll let you close out. Tell us about this event we got coming up for professional development, and we'll close out this webinar today.
Absolutely. Thank you all. This was so incredible. It was so great to hear from everyone. And on Friday, I'm going to be giving a presentation on social media and personal branding at noon. And so I hope you all will join us. We're going to talk a lot about LinkedIn and actually hit on exactly what Miguel just spoke on about networking and how important it is, and to just build that network and reach out to people in, connect with Tulane alumni and any, friends from high school and, anyone that you meet at any sort of networking event, professors, staff like me. So we're all here to help. So thank you all for joining. And it was a great conversation. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Appreciate it.
Good night.
Bye-bye.